Hey everyone, Roman Prokopchuk here. So between the 6th and the 13th of September, the Ukrainian forces have liberated an estimated 3,800 square kilometers and liberated 300 settlements in the Kharkiv Oblast alone. This was stated by Hanna Maliar, the Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine. So in the last few days, obviously it's developed where there was a full rout capturing most of the Kharkiv Oblast. As in the previous video, I said a lot of that success, it's not necessarily mentioned, but the utilization and use of the armored carriers donated and more light armor donated by different countries. So Humvees from the U.S., other personal carriers from U.S. and then NATO as well. And you've seen actually convoys of Bushmasters thanks to Australia. I actually posted a video today about this and actually included a clip that's been confirmed a few days ago in terms of fighting in the south in Kherson, near the Mykolaiv area, which you see a Humvee being operated by Ukrainians. The gunner on the 50 cal on the turret is a American volunteer, and you see how he's letting loose in terms of fire onto an occupied area by Russian forces. He's unable to reload the 50 cal, and he needs ammo. He's looking to obviously reload it. So in the meantime, while he's asking for ammo, he uses two mobile anti-tank, obviously mobile rocket systems to fire in the area. So I feel like a lot of areas have had these fleets of armored vehicles that have moved in rapidly, quickly, using obviously everything they have on board. So 50 cals, if there's a small turret in terms of a lower caliber cannon, as well as carrying anti-tank and mobile rocket systems where they can use in terms of taking out tanks in the area if they encounter them, or obviously shooting into specific areas if they need to as well. So I think that's one reason in terms of the lightning quick advance. The other reason is obviously planning, strategically being a Western focused military at this point in terms of tactics and mindset, being retrained, tuned up, calling up reserves recently and training and adding to the overall force number of the Ukrainian military. So it's been really interesting to see. They've pushed Russia all the way to the Russian border to control of the border. Obviously, at this point, from Kharkiv, north of Kharkiv, all the way down northeast to the border of the Kharkiv Oblast, Ukraine has the border under control. Obviously, a day or two ago, Russia has launched missiles from Russia hitting Kharkiv, hitting water filtration plants and infrastructure in terms of electricity and taking it out. I guess throwing a little hissy fit that now they're retreating. So that's been a problem. So I guess the conundrum now, are we going to be shooting HIMARS, and how is it going to be looked at by the international community and hitting targets within Russia itself? Obviously, in the past few months, Ukraine has conducted operations going into Russia, hitting air bases, ammo dumps in terms of units, as well as helicopters performing airstrikes. But in terms of, hitting Russian territory with artillery systems like the howitzers, the, M777s or the HIMARS, how is that going to be looked at? Is that attacking quote unquote Russian soil? Then potentially Russia can call up a mobilization. Who knows? But that conundrum is potentially about to be reached. But Ukraine, obviously, like I said, is controlling the border in the Kharkiv Oblast. Ukraine is still pushing this counteroffensive, has reached potentially, and crossed the river system in the area to the border of Kharkiv Oblast. So we'll see how far they go. There's been rumors, it's not confirmed, that some of the Russian forces within the Kherson southern fighting theater have potentially run out of ammunition and are looking to locally asked for a surrender because they simply ran out of ammunition and have nothing to fight with. So I don't know how encircled that area is, but obviously throughout the weeks, Ukraine has taken out the bridgeheads in order to resupply and reinforce. They've took out majority of the ammo depots within the area as well. Any concentration of troops or men, Ukraine has been pretty good in terms of reacting to and hitting with artillery strikes. So, there has been cities liberated. I believe there's 4 or 5 settlements September 12th liberated within the Kherson Oblast itself. I know in terms of Chechen fighters, I think about 1,200 Chechen fighters arrived to help recently in the last few days. I don't know how much that's going to do. I know Kadyrov has been saying a lot and been critical about the war, like what they're actually going to do. Like they're going to alleviate what's going on and push Ukraine back. I don't think 1,200 men have the capability to do that currently. But like I said, any reinforcement and resupply situations have been kind of squashed. There have been a few ferry crossings created. Ukraine hits anything that looks like, armor or troops crossing the river systems around Kherson and has been quick to react to that. But Kherson was basically the hype up to the whole counteroffensive a few weeks ago. Ukraine has been saying we're gonna throw everything in Kherson and march to Crimea. Obviously, there have been strikes in Crimea right before the official Kherson offensive started. So, in I don't know, a panic or a calculated move within Kharkiv and other areas, Russia sent reinforcements, armor, ammunition, supplies to reinforce Kherson. Now, when they did that, that obviously weakened their forces in Kharkiv Oblast. Ukraine obviously saw its opportunity. It planned this blitzkrieg or this rapid retaking of Ukrainian territory for a few days, and then began the strategic liberation of the Kharkiv Oblast. So there's been a lot of development in the last week to 10 days, a lot of territory retaken. So what for every kilometer, I believe Russia was the most Russia was advancing in any area was 1 kilometer or close to a kilometer a day. Ukraine was doing 20 to 30. So in that time, Ukraine has advanced, months from what the Russians were able to do in 5 or 6 months time. So it's very commendable. Obviously, this is one part of the war. This has been, I believe, a shift in momentum. So now Ukraine controls what they do next, where they attack, what they attempt to strategically liberate, what the targets will be, in terms of Luhansk and Donetsk. A few days ago, Ukraine has moved in and retook the Donetsk airport that obviously the Ukrainian cyborgs held out, were encircled for months in 2014, 2015. It's one of the first times in years that they've attempted to retake it. Leadership from Donetsk has fled to Russia. Installed officials in Donetsk and Luhansk have left. There's been a mass migration of Russians that have moved into Ukraine during this occupation, and officers and soldiers' families that have moved into Luhansk and Donetsk, and those that wanted to leave that were sympathizers with Russia. Yesterday came out a video on the border of Russia and Ukraine, a line of cars and different kinds of vehicles for miles trying to leave. But the only problem now, the passports granted to the self-proclaimed Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics, they're not being recognized on the border by Russians. So the video shows basically a line of cars not moving, and Russia's refusing to let a lot of these people in. So interesting a few weeks, mainly a week, and it's going to be an interesting few weeks. Basically, Ukraine has to keep the push going, obviously not thin out their lines in terms of not being able to hold the territory that they take, and basically potentially being exposed to a counteroffensive by Russia, and the movement of what they're going to do. They have a window of a few weeks now until it gets really cold, the ground freezes, and obviously winter. So before winter, they have to make a push if possible, and obviously dictate the terms of the offensive operations, because up until a few weeks ago, the majority of the front, Ukraine was on the defense. Now Ukraine is pushing offensively and taking a large amount of territory, and hopefully with the support of the West and other nations, ammunition, arms, financial support to continue to fund the war machine, because obviously war is an expensive endeavor. The U.S. spent, I don't know, $2 trillion or something crazy in the war on Iraq or Afghanistan, spending hundreds of millions to billions of dollars a day logistically in terms of funding and supporting. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks, and I hope to bring you as much information as possible, information that I get from Ukraine, from family members, potentially in the armed forces of Ukraine, which I currently have 3 family members in the armed forces of Ukraine serving currently. So when that information is able to be cleared and it doesn't jeopardize any kind of security or operational security, I'll be sure to convey it. And any information coming out, be sure to obviously fact check it between Ukrainian sources, Russian sources, videos, social media in terms of social listening and videos coming out, geolocating certain events, as well as Western media. So I really appreciate the support. Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava, Slava Nazi, Slava Bohu, God bless.